Coming off of a disappointing and undeserved result against Tottenham on Sunday last week, Chelsea looked to bounce back as they travelled to Ellen Road, a ground of which the Blues have gone unbeaten at for the last 4 appearances, that of which consisting of 2 wins, 2 draws. The last of which was a victory back in May of 2022. 20 years since the last defeat, Chelsea suffered to the hosts away from home. In fact, that was the last time that Leeds were victorious against Chelsea, either home or away, in the last 8 fixtures. For Chelsea, we saw improvements all over the place. Havertz, albeit he did miss an absolute sitter. However, despite that, you can't deny the aggression, the passion that you saw from Havertz in that game. Evidently, of course, though, he does need to fix up on his finishing touch. It just massively. It's not even close to being good. Koulibaly continues to impress as he was undoubtedly the best player on the pitch for either side. So far, putting away any issues or worries with regards to Rudiger being a miss to the club. But still early days. But, you know, on first impressions, Koulibaly looking fantastic. Looking great. Looking so good. James certainly improved from his previous performance against Everton and even bagged a goal. Could have got an assist if Havertz put it in the back of the net, but we move. Kante, fairly average, in all honesty, against Spurs. He's out for weeks, according to a lot of sources. And so the argument surrounding the need for another midfielder in the centre of the field actually has some substance to it now. Cucurella, he ran and was nearly skinned for his luscious locks as a result. So, coming into this game, the question from my last video, Havertz or Broja doesn't come into play for this game at all. Havertz will no doubt be the first choice given that Broja is out for days. We played what many sources, and obviously if you watched the game as well, we played a 3-5-2 in the game against Tottenham. With Havertz and Sterling doing what they did up front. So if we're going to play 3-5-2 instead of a 3-4-2-1, the question now is Sterling and Broja or Sterling and Havertz, which partnership would bring more in the way of goal-scoring opportunities, let alone goals? And as mentioned before regarding Havertz, his absolute sitter going wayward following an absolute exquisite Reece James in-swinger. Do we see Havertz in that much of an attacking role for Chelsea this season, or for the entire season more specifically, especially with the possible inclusion of Aubameyang before the end of the window? Defensively, I thought it was sound, but adding on to the injury of Kante, he joins Kovacic on the sideline, which most likely leaves Loftus-Cheek to fill in the centre. That said, I do believe we will bode well against this Leeds side, despite them having an average of 2 goals per game. Patrick Bamford is a worry for Leeds after saying on a podcast that he most likely won't be available for the game. And then, of course, the big ones, the absence of former Leeds players Rafinha and Calvin Phillips will also lower their goal-scoring chances. However, that said, Rodrigo has scored 3 of their 4 goals so far in the opening 2 games of the season for Leeds. So I am not discounting the possibility of Chelsea conceding at all. That said, we are yet to concede against Leeds at Ellen Road since they've come back to the Premier League. Thomas Tuchel may still be a miss, but as of the time of recording this, there is no further news on his punishment, if any, that he will receive. Supposing he is, of course, he will be a massive miss. No doubt, or maybe a doubt, I don't know, you never know with these Chelsea players, the mentality for some of them at least, but you would like to think that a lot of these players will come into the game fully aware of what he expects from them, and you can expect him to be talking to them throughout the game or throughout half-time at least, at the very least. If you've seen All or Nothing, you know the ins and outs now with fucking Arteta from his home, all that stuff. So Tuchel doing the exact same thing probably isn't out of the question. Predictions for this match, I think Chelsea are going to dominate this match as we tend to do, averaging 64% possession in the opening 2 games. And if you go back all of last season, possession, not a problem. It's not a problem for Chelsea. As ever, it comes down to whether or not our attacking players can actually find the target, let alone the net. Chelsea with 16 shots in the last game against Tottenham with 3 on target, 2 of which were goals. It doesn't look great on paper. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. That said, 2-0 for this game. I believe, as Leeds are yet to properly be challenged, a win against Wolves and a draw against Southampton, it's too early to say, but I don't think Leeds are going to pose too much of a threat. I could be wrong, but that's what we're going off of so far. You also have to factor in that Chelsea will be looking to rectify the absolute shit show that was Sunday's match against Tottenham. With that said, get your predictions in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe and like the video. That would be massively appreciated. And as always, up the Chelsea. Peace.